that France listens to it and surely resolve the issues.
There's something instructive again about the video we're being shown. You have the First Lady of the country, being part of the entourage. Like, you see him very close to the president, and I think this is more like the second time you have the First Lady having this kind of, or you have the president, the First Lady standing side by side. I think when you went to Brazil, you also have such a view. I don't know what has changed, because I think it's more like it's a recent development. Is it a diplomatic decision, or it's a strategic one when you visit a country like France, where they prioritize the issue of gender and, of course, the need for partners, family?
Don't forget, familiarity enables, is an enabler. We have a kind of familiarity with the French president. Way back in 2002, he was there in Abuja as an intern. And in 2018, because of the fraternity that he has with Nigeria, he was at the Fellow African Shrine in Lagos, just to see. He's one kind of a person who loves Nigeria apart from art. And this is a president wife that has our own agenda to enlarge the coast of renewed hope initiative of the president. And part of it is to see how she wants to empower women, how she wants to get the youth engaged. These are part of the things that I think her company, her husband, will achieve because of the commonality between the two nations, as he pointed out. And more so when we have a friendly leader now in power. I think Emmanuel Macron will soon be exiting.
Exactly.
So it's an opportunity to fraternize the more. And of course, the issue of youth empowerment is something that is very germane to this present government, and the issue of food security. The president wife for the First Lady was the first to let Nigerians know the significance or the importance of gardening within the environment.
Exactly.
So for a nation like this that have agro-allied industry, or that have mechanization of industries in the agri, they will be useful to us. And of course, the women also will benefit when we learn from what they have on ground, apart from other bilateral ties that are likely to come both on the government side as well as in the private sector. But my concern is the FDIs that Nigeria is likely to benefit out of it, because that will show up our economic stability.
All right, Nigeria and France have been friends, let's say, since the beginning of Nigeria itself. Definitely this is a very good relationship that we expect diplomatic relations, or maybe expert to say that is a good development, and they should encourage more of this kind of state visit, such that the countries will benefit, and of course the citizens as well will be the beneficiary at the end of the day to this particular coming together. So we move to the very next conversation. This has to do with the major topic on the lips of Nigerians as we, as the week runs out. You begin to hear stories of refineries working, Port Harcourt refineries working, and that's what we keep hearing. Uzo, I know you have the news, you read the news, and of course it was more like the most interesting part of the conversations taking place in Nigeria as we speak. And the expectations when you get to hear Nigerians talk is that the price of fuel is going to go down if our refineries start working, and that was how they built narratives around it, along the line. And of course, when that came up, that was the same expression from Nigerians. I don't know if you're that optimistic about refineries bringing down, the working of the refinery bringing down the costs of fuel.
Well, I was excited when the story came out that the Port Harcourt refinery has begun operation, a full operation. I was excited about it. truly excited. And one of the reasons why I was excited about it is because you have now what you call price war between the Dangote refinery, but not just Dangote refinery now, you also have the Port Harcourt refinery. And what that price war would mean is that, yes, Dangote has set his own price now at 970 naira. You should also expect that the Port Harcourt refinery might also set their own price, perhaps lower than Dangote refinery, to boost patronage. And so it's a story that when it came out, I was excited about it. I was also excited that it's coming out at this time, during this Yuletide season, this festive season, because you know what accompanies the festive season in Nigeria? Scarcity, right? And so for the fact that the Port Harcourt refinery has started operation, well, what it then means is that the scarcity that we usually experience during the Yuletide season, during the festive season, might be something that as Nigerians we might not experience. But again, like I said, it's a good thing. We might just see the price of fuel come down. I'm not sure it might come down drastically, because there are certain people who are saying that it might come down to 300 naira per litre. I don't think that is realistic, because of course you know that the pricing of fuel goes around the international market price. And so if the international market price is at a particular price, the markets in Nigeria, or refineries in Nigeria, would have to peg their own price according to that international price.
But we don't see people, for instance, we make mention of Libya most of the time.
Right.
Saudi Arabia, I don't think they get, fuel this high, along the line. And majority of people would say that if it is internationally benchmarked,
right.
It is the resources that we have in abundance, so why should we follow that kind of, order, sort of? Why not sell whatever you're selling to outsiders for that rate or at that rate? Why will Nigerians be buying petrol as high as people that do not even have these resources in their communities?
Well, I don't think that is absolutely true. To say that the petrol price in Libya is way lesser than the petrol price in Nigeria. If anything, the petrol price in Nigeria is way lesser than the petrol price in Libya.
No, it's 3 cents per litre.
3 cents per litre in Libya?
Yes.
Okay, well, I have to recheck that. But the point, like I just mentioned, is that you just have to operate on the international benchmark for fuel. You cannot just sell fuel just because you have it in excess in Nigeria. Sell it below the price that is set at the international, international market. That's what I think about that.
Okay. This refinery, it's not the first time, second time, 7th deadline have been missed, and I know you have a lot to say when it comes to that. It talks about the pricing now, the price war going on. You say there is not going to be a monopoly. That's what we've been told. We don't know if the business people would come together and say, oh, this is how much we're going to sell to the Nigerian populace, and so notwithstanding no monopoly, they are still united to give us a price.
I just want to say that I want to believe that the operational exercise that has begun in Port Harcourt refinery will not be a fluke. Because I'm not leading, or neither am I supporting that Sahara report that says that it's just a fluke. But I believe one should give it to former President Muhammad Buhari, who initiated the rehabilitation of the refinery in 2021 with $1.5 billion. And the refinery getting back to life now is coming 5 years after it was shut, 11 months after we are told that it has been mechanically completed. You can imagine all the postponements the kind of tension, the kind of situation that Nigerians have been put to. But what I want to say really is the fact that we must avoid operating in opaque manner in this very sector. Transparency must be the hallmark. Everybody, both the downstream and the NNPCL, should begin to bring everything open, because this is the common thing that binds Nigeria together. It's the only resources. We are a mono economy, and if anything touches that resources, it's going to affect every other thing, and that is why we are feeling affected.
But you see, the first time we're calling for accountability, yes, transparency, yes, in that ministry, in that sector, yes, really, and it's not looking like it's going to come in our time.
Well, let's say it goes. Let's say it goes.
Okay, we might do something about it.
Yes, I think something. But what I want to say, there might be at a time when the price of fuel will be reduced. Don't mind the fact that late Senator Ife Uba led the Senate committee to inspect the Kaduna refinery early this April, and they were promising by December it will be in operation. If Warri, Kaduna, and a number of other modular refineries, about 12 in Nigeria, Edo has, there are 2 in Bayelsa as we speak, and all other modular refineries together with Dangote are working. You will see the issue of pricing of fuel, PMS in particular, coming down. The issue of fixing price, I think it has to do with crude production. That's where the international pricing comes in.
But Dara, there's something I have always been bothered about, the fact that you have security agencies destroying, because illegal refineries now, that's the modular ones that operate within the axis, the south-south axis, and of course you have illegal modular refineries being operated by illegal people. Now I think I'll put it that way. And of course you hear they just destroy this, destroy that, and this is something that we do not actually have. We're battling to revive the ones that we have. I don't know if there is a policy decision that could be made in that direction. Even if they are illegal, how do we make them legal? Or is it just by way of destroying them that will solve the problem?
Most of these people are operating illegally, but there are those that are giving approval. I tell you, for instance, there is Azike Modular Hydroskimming Petrol Refinery in Yenuga, Bayelsa State. It's expected to have 12,000 barrels per day production. There is Ogbele Refinery, 1,000 per day. It was commissioned in 2012 with about 860 liters of diesel per day. There is Edo Refinery and Petrochemical Company that was commissioned, that was that's supposed to produce 1,000 barrels per day in 2024 this year. There is Dupont Midstream, 2005 barrels per day modular refinery in Eboko in Edo State again. There is OPEC refinery in there started in 2021 with 10,000 barrels per day modular refinery in Kwale, Delta State. There is Alexis Refineries Limited, 1,000 also in Delta. There is also Atlantic International Refineries and Petrochemical Limited that is producing in Bayelsa State again. Started in 2021. When all of these ones are on board, together with Warri and Kaduna, with Dangote, I think we should be well off, and there will be more vibrant competition. Competition will set in, and it will force the price of the commodities down. But the issue around this issue of petroleum is because everybody has seen it as a cheap means of getting money. Whereas there are other resources that we have in this country that we should look at. We should have used the money, the petrodollar, to improve upon other resources that God has given this nation. But we are just blindfolded looking at the quickest way of getting money. And that's why it looks as if accountability, transparency has been a bane in this very sector. But because of the problem that we have found ourselves, there is no way that we can continue in that opaque manner that we have been
I don't
operating.
think we have in any sector transparency, accountability. You know, those words are always being used in almost all the sectors of the nation's economy. So let's
start somewhere one day.
So maybe one day I would have to not talk about, you know, how transparent the sector is or how accountable are they? Let's move to the issue of crude. You know, people are saying, for instance, Dangote said they are not getting enough crude. And you have the words coming from Nigerians, and of course, you know, Nigerian government also encouraging investors to come in and do the business of refining, building refineries and all of that, even if it is modular refineries. And he listed some of the ones that are legal that should be operating. And are you not bothered about availability of crude for them to actually be doing their business if Dangote is complaining not having the amount needed to work per day?
Well, I don't think availability is the issue in Nigeria. We have enough crude to give anyone who's ready to deal in that particular business. But again, it boils down to the bottlenecks right there in that particular sector. You just mentioned the lack of transparency in that sector. You think about the PIA, and the PIA is expected to address some of these issues. But the reason why we keep mentioning this is because of the lack of implementation of the PIA. And again, it's not far-fetched. Some would say political patronage might be the reason why the PIA has not been put into effect or being implemented. Political players in Nigeria would not want that to happen. And so again, we call for the implementation of the PIA. If the PIA can truly be implemented, I think these issues that you've just mentioned will surely be resolved.
It's just an issue of political will from the leadership.
Political will is why we are where we are. That's what my guests are saying this morning on that particular topic. We move very quickly to the next, and the next conversation we'll be having is court remands Yahaya Bello to others in EFCC custody till December 10. We have a lot of drama, you know, before now. You heard, oh, he would be arrested, he needs to answer questions. And of course, the EFCC chairman said if he's not coming out, he's not able to get him, he's going to resign. You know, you have all kinds of things. And this is not the first time you're having things like that. When you leave government, you know, for governors now, the former governors, there is always this assumption that you record the Ekiti State, the former Ekiti State governor, Ayofayoshe, was also, he actually wore a t-shirt, branded t-shirt, saying that yes, I'm here, sort of. So the issue for most Nigerians is the fact that we call and make the people to account. Along the line, the leaders are not always willing to obey, you know, the laws. And here we are. The controversy built around, he was arrested, he came into EFCC office. That also started when he was detained. I don't know whether you're satisfied now that he's in the custody of the EFCC.
Anybody that is occupying a leadership position in anywhere at all, whether private or public, should always realize that there is accountability and submission. And of course, they should realize, that they are serving the people. There is the chief servant. I want to recall a former civilian governor in Niger State that used to call himself the chief servant of Niger State. You remember him? Babangida is his name. Yeah. You know, it's so unfortunate that most people, when they come to public office, they see themselves as overlords. And that's why we are having the problems we have. And they easily forget that everything that has a beginning has an end. And there are rules to the game that must be adhered to. If you want sanity, if you want continuity, if you want development for our country. You know, what the cat and bull's game that Yahaya Bello, the ex-governor, former governor of Kogi State, was playing, as at the time that EFCC wanted to get him arrested or put him on trial was not good enough, particularly for the current political party in power. It was not good enough. Most people will say, yes, he didn't have anything to say any longer, while the issue of EFCC that a number of states are taking to Supreme Court, believing that the Supreme Court will give a judgment that will render EFCC a nullity as an institution together with ICPC. But at the end of the day, the Supreme Court did not do otherwise. So, you see, it was unfortunate that he behaved that way, not until even another opposing party governor, former governor, Okua, the SY governor of, former governor of Delta State, freely submitted himself for trial. Now he went. I gathered that even the other day that he went along with Ododo and said, EFCC, I was there. I gathered that he didn't just go freely to submit himself. And it was good a thing that EFCC did not show up fire for fire, because they said not less than 50, it was alleged that not less than 50 security people were following him that day, which could have led to another war and death. But now for him to come, you can imagine coming for the first time, your followers were the one, who occupied the High Court. I think there are certain things that
I think I would like to comment on the values. Every time we talk about the values are no longer the same, and of course the blames have always been on the doorsteps of most of the younger generations. Yes. And you have an example of a former governor. You expected that to account at the end of your tenure, because you have immunity as a governor. Yes. That's why they did not come and harass you with those kind of cases when you are in office. And then you see the young person watching what is going on, or what transpired between EFCC and the former governor, and of course you see in the court he's not actually still on trial. Yes. It's not something that has been concluded and all that. So it's alleged, all these are allegations, and of course it's going to be tried and found. But most of the time, you saw what the EFCC chairman Olukoyede actually rolled out when he was having a press briefing, saying that he did this, he did that, which are things that we are not able to confirm at this moment, which the court is definitely going to do justice to. So I want to speak to the role modeling, I want you to speak to that and how that has, been. We didn't just get here. It's things like this that made the younger generation not to really have that we demand from them. Is that so?
Of course, we have devalued the purpose of coming to lead your people, serving the people. It's not just an issue of I want to campaign or a funfair or an entertainment affair. It's a serious business. And unfortunately, because the framers or drafters of the present constitution, they had it in mind that, yes, for better governance, let us give immunity to governors so that they will not be disturbed in the running of the governing of their various states. But unfortunately, with the attitude that administrators or governors are showing now, a number of people are saying, let us expunge that immunity from the constitution, so that once they are found wanting, it will be easier even to take them on, and they will know that yes, there's something to check them, so that they won't misbehave. Okay. You can imagine when you are saying an allegation of fraud running to 110.4 billion, and you are still doing as if,
So why some critics would say, oh, it is okay to allow the governors to do their terms, and of course when they are out. Some have said that there are agencies like the EFCC, the ICPC that could actually stop them before they actually get the funds in their pocket, as they are also ruling or running the affairs of the state when they are still in office. So we have 110 billion, naira, being part of the issue he's been prosecuted for. And of course, you're talking about what those kind of agencies were doing when he was trying to move the money, or what they were doing, particularly when he was in office, to stop it from happening, so that at the end of the day, they won't be talking about it at all if there are agencies saddled with that responsibility to understand or to go ahead of this stealings to take place, not in his case, but of course the general ones that we know.
Well, look, I think there are two individuals, or two people who are on trial here. Well, you have the erstwhile governor, Yahaya Bello, on trial in court, but you also have the EFCC also on trial. But this time around, in the court of public opinion, a lot of Nigerians have lost faith in the anti-graft agency, not just the EFCC, but also the ICPC. I'm going to come to your question, but you have about 13 ex-governors who have cases, pending cases, with the EFCC. It was sometime earlier this year, I think it was January, when the EFCC boss came out to say that he's going to revive the 13 cases that the EFCC has with those governors. Now, we've not heard anything about these cases. It's like, again, those cases have been swept under the carpet, under the rug.
How much do you expect the ICPC and EFCC to do when you have a case of former governors being prosecuted, being charged, and of course you have pardon being given to them? Along the line, they prosecute the case, for years, about 11 years or so. Along the line, these governors, got convicted, and of course, along the line, you get to hear a presidential pardon. How motivated do you think the anti-graft agencies will be in prosecuting this governor?
Well, I agree with you that there will be that lack of motivation. You just mentioned the pardon given to, I think it was Joshua Darie and Jolly Yame. They were given presidential pardon by the former president, President Muhammadu Buhari. And it's quite interesting to note that it was this same president who came into power to say is that he's going to fight corruption, and now giving pardon to people who are found guilty of corruption. And so I would understand if the EFCC lacks the motivation to fight corruption, because after putting in all this work, you still have presidential pardon being given to.
And you also have them talk about the judiciary, in all of this.
Right.
That they have the evidence, they have all this, they are to prove. And of course, you mentioned the former president who said that time that he came as the head of state, they would get the person, and you have to be the one to prove otherwise that you're not with the money. You're not, the money is not stolen.
Right.
Not the person that caught the thief that would prove that money belongs to you. So you have a different case entirely. So how do we navigate? How are we going to fight corruption? It's looking like the more you go and fight corruption, corruption keeps fighting back in this system.
Well, I think we just have to be serious about fighting corruption. I think we've not been serious about fighting corruption. That's just the truth. The presidential pardon just makes everything a joke. The fight against corruption. But I also think there needs to be synergy. The executive and the judicial arm of government. The executive will come out and say, "Look, we want to fight corruption," but we see a different thing playing out with their actions. Also, the judiciary also needs to be seen to be fighting corruption. I think if we can have that, if we can have the executive fulfilling their promises to fight corruption, then you can have the faith that has been long lost in Nigeria is being restored, to say, you know what, when a president comes out to say that he wants to fight corruption, or when the EFCC comes out to say that, look, we're going after this person, we are surely going to see the finale of that particular case.
You heard the kind of prosecution taking place. You said EFCC is also on trial, and many cases reported recently by the FCC chairman, largely cases of cyber crimes. You have the Yahoo boys being captured and, of course, prosecuted. A very fast, speedy trial they give them, and no one is saying they shouldn't be tried. What they are saying, majority of Nigerians are saying, is that we know where the big monies are. Why is it so difficult to get our monies out? The reason the country is where it is because a few people are actually in charge of the resources. What do you propose to be done?
Do you recall what one of the clerics or one of the ferry pastors in Lagos said recently? That corruption is not easy to fight in Nigeria, that if you are not part of them, you are likely to lose your life. He said it recently. You see, the trust deficit that we have in the prosecution of cases by EFCC, by the judiciary, even by the NBA members, the way they prosecute, gives cause for concern. Because the issue of corruption is what has brought this nation to where we are. Until everybody begins to see what role he has to play to restore sanity in this nation, wherever we find ourselves. It is not only in public place. Do they not steal money in church or in mosque? Do they not steal money in private concerns that we know? It's easier to prosecute cybercrime offenders because they are individuals, that there are no protocols that will ban them. Look at how long it took for the Yaya to be brought on trial. And the case has been adjourned to December 10th. Not as if is the allegation or the beginning of the commencement of the trial. When they resume on December 10th, it is the bail application that his counsel is fighting for that will be ruled on by the trial judge. So we don't know how long the main trial will take. But all we can say is that a number of people have been saying maybe we should have a special court for the trials of these corrupt practices. But to what extent will this work in Nigeria when you look at the issue of the justice process in Nigeria? There are cases that can be concluded under 3 months. But for Nigeria, I don't know. So if you say let us have special offences tribunal, how it will work will depend on the judiciary and the powers that be.
The powers that be are always been mentioned all the time. Like the powers that be, is it something you think we can ever stop talking about?
It is interest.
They talk about the interest, talk about the man in charge. You also mentioned the former president, want to fight corruption. That was majorly the reason some Nigerians, or majority of Nigerians, actually voted for him in 2015 when he became the president of the country. He wants to fight corruption. Can really good man or honest man actually rule Nigeria, make it a corruptless country?
Well, I think you just have to ensure that the agencies who expected to fight corruption are able to do their job. And once you allow that to happen, then you see corruption truly being fought. Look, humans generally have the need or would always want to manipulate the system in their favor. It's akin to human nature. We would always try to manipulate the system to our favor. But it is essential that agencies are put in place, and that is the reason why we have the ICPC, and that's the reason why we have the EFCC, to checkmate those people who would want to manipulate the system in their favor. But what we've seen from the EFCC and from the ICPC is that they've been fighting corruption with their hands tied behind their back, right? Because when they go after a particular politician, if that particular politician has an interest in government, then you'd see the ICPC or the FCC dropping the case. I mean, we have to send the president. We have to send the president having a case, or so has an ongoing case with the EFCC. The defense minister also has a case with the EFCC, right?
So it's not actually a bad thing to have. It's not really that when you have cases with the EFCC, it automatically means that you're guilty. That's not what you're saying.
Well, it doesn't mean that you're automatically guilty, but exactly. but I would also think that you should indeed resolve that case you have with them before occupying a political office, because as long as you're in that office, you would always be tied to that particular case you have with that particular anti-graft agency.
This is like moving in circles. We just keep going, keep saying, oh, this is what we have to do, this is what we're going to do. And along the line, you have bottlenecks. Along the line, you have bottlenecks holding your hands. And every government comes in to say the same thing. Along the line, we still have no clear cut of how to fight corruption in Nigeria. Like my guest said, we just need to be serious about it. If you make a scapegoat of some people that feel they are too big in the society, along the line you maybe have something different, and send a signal to every other persons that are going through the same process. So we move to Ogun State now. In Ogun State, we have how Governor Abeokuta expands Ogun road networks, and this particular time, it's a very, very interesting discussion this morning. And of course, it is the completion of Denro Ishashi Yakute Road. And some said, oh, this is a project that the governor, gave, a marching order for completion in less than 4 months, and it was really completed. And you see, he said he's a working governor. He's the governor that listens to the people. I don't know if you see him in that light with this particular road.
Yes, that particular road that he commissioned is one of the major agents or catalysts for economic development, bearing in mind the fact that it is very close to the commercial hub of Nigeria. Ogun State has not been exploiting the potentials or the benefits derivable from its nearness to Lagos and North. Ojodo Abiodun, very, very close to Lagos, but the level of development on the part of Ogun State side is something that each time I pass through that place, I wonder why. Because apart from generating internal revenue through that place, it will also give an inroad for people who are daily coming to Lagos to use the opportunity of nearness of Ogun State to move down to Ogun State. But when there are no infrastructure like roads, it will be difficult. So for the governor of Ogun State, Prince Dapo Abiodun, doing this is one of those agents of development that will aid the development of that area, that will bring income to Ogun State in terms of IGR, that will also allow other to give room for other urban development, because cities will be developed as well. The local government will benefit from it. Tenement rates will be generated. But when there are no infrastructure like roads that will enable people to move, it will be difficult. Look at the Songo Ijoko Road as well. I am told that he said they should give him another 3 weeks. In 3 weeks' time, he will also take up that road. Okay. That would be a good thing to justify Uzo, our nearness to Lagos. Okay,
Uzo, you've seen the local government election being conducted. Are you optimistic that these road networks that we have across the different states in Nigeria would be seeing different results along the line?
With the local government elections?
And the new narratives around local government taking over, their major responsibility of developing these the local levels?
Well, I totally agree. You find that there is lack of development when it comes to these rural areas. And the reason why you have that lack of development in rural areas is the fact that, you know, the road connectivity is quite bad. And so the fact that the roads are now getting improved and the roads in question we're talking about now has transformed tells us and tells me truly that there can be economic boost and economic growth in those rural areas.
Thank you so much, Uzo.
Sorry, just a point I want to say.
Of our time.
Yes, just a point. I passed through Ido, Omiadio, a newly constructed road in Oyo State. I want to beg Oyo State government, there should be a signpost near the overhead bridge, railway overhead that was run along that road, very near Omiadio. If you are coming from Ido area to that area, if you are not familiar with that road, it could lead to loss of life because of the nature of the bend of that road. They need to put signs to warn motorists along that road. So I'm begging Oyo State Ministry of Works to do something along that path.
All right, this is where we draw the curtains on today's edition of Reporters Lounge on Ogun State Television. I've been lounging with two wonderful guests, Dara Adibingbe and of course Uzo Adizua. I hope you enjoyed the program. Thank you so much.
A pleasure.
Again.
I really enjoyed my time with you.
Thank you, Dara. Thank you so much for being
It's my pleasure to be here. We'll do it again next week.
We appreciate you two for being there all the time. Tonight, you can watch the repeat edition of the program, 11 o'clock. And of course, next week will be another time. Do enjoy your Friday. Happy celebrations.